Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in today's video I'll be discussing what I thought of the latest and spookiest episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which dropped a few days ago on Paramount Plus. I've had a very full weekend, so I finally had a chance to sit down and watch it earlier today, and I really liked it, so I want to give you guys my thoughts on it. Before I get into all of that, of course, please be warned, this is a spoiler-filled review, so if you still haven't seen the latest episode, which is episode 6 of season 2, you do not want to keep watching or listening, as I will be going into spoilers, plot details, character stuff, all that jazz. That being said, you have been warned. Let's get right back into it. You know, the thing that I liked most about this episode, it had very much the similar type of storytelling and tone of a story of somebody moving into a haunted house, and in this case, that somebody is Uhura. And instead of a haunted house, they're at a refinery station. And instead of a ghost, it's an alien life force that lives within the nebula that was unknowingly being killed and somewhat tortured due to the Federation refining this it wasn't dilithium, but some kind of fuel for their starships. And they could only communicate through Uhura by sending out images of scary images of like a zombie hammer, you know, the dead Andorian. And then, you know, frightening images of like, this isn't real or that's real and shit like that. Just like they did to the poor Starfleet officer who ended up ejecting himself into space. Like he was trying to help them, but of course the crew wasn't aware of that till Uhura figured it out towards the end of the episode. So it was a great episode. You know, at first I thought, oh no, is this going to be a deal where everybody sees what really scares them? And is it going to be one of those episodes where the whole ship is affected or infected? Turns out it wasn't. Only Uhura and the doomed Starfleet officer were the only ones affected by it. And this episode, interestingly enough, touched on several other pre-established storylines. The developing relationship between Christine and Spock. Constance Nunu and her new affection for Jim Kirk, and apparently the resentment that number 1 has towards the chief engineer. Well, not really resentment, but it was more like sadness, as the chief engineer pointed out. You look at me, and every time you see me, you're reminded of your dead friend whom you cared so much for, which was Hemmer, who gave his life last season to save his crew from the Gorn. And that made a lot of sense when they put it in that context. Because at first I'm like, why is there conflict or tension between these two? They've never had a scene before. What's going on here? And then she mentions the whole getting a C on her paper in her class years ago. I'm like, okay, resentment. All right, that makes sense, but it feels like it's deeper than that. And then it's like, oh, you're reminded of your dead friend whenever you look at her. Now it makes sense. But I like how the majority of the storyline of this episode was around and focused on Uhura eventually helping these aliens find their voice, so to speak, and was able to communicate to Pike and everybody else, guys, stop refining the nebula, we're killing these creatures, you know? And I'm glad that people listened, because people could have easily dismissed her as crazy or hallucinating, which a couple characters did in the beginning. They labeled it as hallucinations and a case of sleep deprivation and exhaustion and being overworked, which it very well could have been, or parts of it probably were, but the strange ringing sensation that Uhura was hearing was probably the aliens reaching out, attempting to communicate, to say, stop killing us. So really good episode overall. I really enjoyed it. It had the overall tone of a haunted house movie, where it's like in a haunted house movie, a ghost haunts someone, unintentionally scaring them into helping this person figure out their death, whether they were actually murdered or died mysteriously or whatever, and then the still living person figures out how the ghost actually died, and then the ghost can rest in peace, where in this case, the ghost is the aliens who thank Uhura for finally saving them and stopping the refining of this nebula that the aliens were living in. So I really liked this episode. You know, it had some good spooky vibes to it, and I really enjoyed it. I liked how they touched on each little character storyline. And the stuff between the Kirk brothers was pretty unexpected and pretty funny too. Oh, and it was cool to see Uhura and Kirk meet each other for the first time, and Kirk and Spock apparently meet each other for the first time as well, just laying the groundwork for the original series. So I liked that. That was a nice touch as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. What did you think of it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on it. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome rest of your Sunday. Stay cool out there. I know it's pretty hot and the temperature is pretty crazy all over the country, so stay cool and safe wherever you are. Have a great rest of your weekend. Star Trek Strange New Worlds drops new episodes every Thursday on Paramount Plus. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Thanks for watching. And of course, until next time, live long and prosper.